So my lyrics been a long time waiting for you, and then you push me away. Painkillers for breakfast, I ain't feeling the day. I'm fucking geeked up, but I tell her I'm okay.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl KD, and I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be reacting to, I want to say it says 11 most evil kids in the USA. I'm so nervous. Like, last time I did this, I was scared of little kids for a long time. Like, I felt like they was gonna kill me. So we're gonna do it again. And I just want to say, I see y'all subscribing and all those good things, liking and commenting or whatever it is you're doing. I see you and I appreciate you. So this is for you. Shout out to all my new subscribers, all my OG subscribers. I love y'all. Thank you for coming through always and showing love. So we're gonna get into this video right now. Let's do it.
You've probably heard the saying, kids can be so cruel, which is usually in reference to schoolyard bullying. It might also relate to such things as young kids pulling the legs off of spiders. Psychologists tell us one of the reasons for such cruelty, especially against animals, is that children have not fully developed their sense of empathy. Some
Kids are freaking mean. Like, they're so mean. Like, they're the most honest forms of human beings there are in the world. Like, they will tell you however they feel. It doesn't matter if it's gonna hurt your feelings. Like me, I had gained a little weight, and my niece told me, she says, Nana, you look pregnant. She says, you have a baby in there. And I'm like, you had to do me like that. You did not have to do me like that. Like, kids don't care. They'll tell you off, not even care. And they'll walk away.
Sometimes they just don't understand the gravity of their actions. But then older kids should know better. Psychologists also tell us older kids that tend to be evil might have suffered from abusive relationships. They might also just be little psychopaths in the making, domineering devils with an antisocial attitude, and sometimes it seems there's no rational explanation why
That's
they are
aggressive.
the way they are. Today we're going to introduce you to some of the worst children ever in this episode of the Infographics show.
Okay, so it's called The Most Evil Kids That Ever Lived. Okay, I'm nervous because they're using the it sign and I hate clowns, but we're gonna go.
Most evil kids that ever lived. Number 10, Peter Woodcock. We'll start with the oldest kid
He
on
sound
this list,
evil.
who we admit could be said to have been almost an adult when he did his wicked deeds. He was 17 when he first started raping and killing young children in Toronto, Canada in the 1950s. Woodcock had a bad start in life. Like many kids on this list, he was put up for adoption by his 17-year-old mom, and then he was physically and sexually abused by his foster parents.
It makes
From
sense.
home to home and was constantly bullied. At age 17,
It's not an excuse, but it makes sense as to why he turned out the way he turned out. Like, most kids who experience that type of trauma generally causes that same type of trauma to other kids. So I'm not surprised. Scared, but not surprised.
some say 16, he stalked young kids in Toronto. He molested and killed a boy of 9, another boy of 6, and also a girl of 4 in a short time span, and was soon arrested. He did strange things to his victims, like biting them, or with the girl, committing the rape partly with a tree branch. He defecated next to one of his victims' bodies and ritualistically sprinkled pennies or paper clips over the dead. He was found to be insane.
Why? Why did he do that? Why? Like, what? His calling sign was pennies and paper clips. Okay. Second of all, that's sadistic. Like that, a tree branch. So you put splinters in this girl? Like, that's crazy.
And was locked up in a psychiatric facility. There he underwent all kinds of strange therapies, including being given powerful LSD and locked in a dark room. Nothing worked. As an adult, he would kill again, and that's a very strange story for another time. He is so high on this list only because it's debatable if he was actually a kid when he did those evil things. Number 9,
is true.
Brenda Ann Spencer. We could of course include numerous school shootings on this list, most of which happened in the USA for some reason. We won't start a gun debate here or mention the worst of those tragedies. That's a
I do know that a lot of school shootings do happen in America. I can say that. Like, I do know that for a fact. We have like the highest number of school shootings, and it's so unfortunate.
Show in and of itself, but we will mention this 16-year-old
She's 16.
girl only
Okay.
because of her utter lack of remorse. In 1979, she took a rifle to school. She shot 8 kids and a police officer, none of whom died. She also killed her school principal and a custodian. When asked why she did it, she replied, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day." She said
What? Yeah, that's not funny, okay? But she got up one day and she went to school, and because she didn't like Mondays, she shot 8 people, including the police, and killed the principal because she hated Mondays. Do you know, like, how much effort, like how many Mondays I hate, how many people would die because I hate Mondays? She just woke up and was just like, fuck it, it's Monday. Like, it's crazy.
it was a lot of fun, adding that the kids looked like a herd of cows standing around. It was really easy pickings.
Oh,
Before being
man.
imprisoned, she had lived in poverty with her alcoholic dad. It's been said she is psychotic and also depressed. She is still in prison today.
I
Number
bet.
8, Edmund Kemper. Okay, so you probably know this guy already as one of the
Yeah.
worst serial killers in history, a man who fits the description of the killer genius. Kemper certainly sounds quite clever in his numerous interviews that you can see on YouTube. He also looks scary at 6'9" and 300 pounds.
Like, I'm not even gonna front. I don't know what he looks like in real life, but just solely based off this cartoon is really creeping me out. Like, the cartoon is creeping me out. I don't even want to know what he looks like in real life.
We won't say too much as we may feature him.
He's
in his own show,
6'9".
but we will tell you that at age 15, he shot and killed both of his grandparents. He was always a dark kid and not the only cat killer on this list. When asked why he killed his grandparents, he replied, "To see what it was like." He underwent many tests.
What? What? Can you, like, imagine waking up and just being like, I just want to see what it's like to kill somebody today. I'm just gonna pick the first person I see, and it just happened to be his grandparents. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's the beginning to a real crazy killer. Like, okay.
And it was discovered that he had a high IQ and that he was a paranoid schizophrenic.
Of
He
course
stayed
they
in
are.
an institution for mentally ill convicts until he was 21. Was he cured? Definitely.
That's like one thing I can say. Like, killers are always, like, for the most part, they always have a high IQ. Like, they're always super smart, and I don't get it. And it's like, if they're this smart, do they lack? What are they lacking that makes them the way that they are? Because they're so smart. They're geniuses. But it's like, what part of the human like emotion are they lacking that keeps them from, like, that disassociates themselves from, like, feeling like normal things? Like, that's so, I don't even know if that question made sense, but hopefully it did. And if I got an answer to it, put it down in the comments.
Not. He would go on to do some very, very bad things.
I bet you
Number
he did.
7, the Unnamed Brit. This sounds like something
He don't
from
even
the
got a
first scene
name.
of a horror movie. A 13-year-old boy walks into a
13.
police station holding a knife. He is
Oh.
covered in blood. Shocked police look on as the boy tells them he just killed his little brother. This happened in the UK in 2001. Police rushed to the house where they met the mother who knew nothing about what had happened. She'd been asleep on the sofa. They all
Lord.
dashed upstairs to find a 6-month-old baby dead in its crib. The baby had been stabbed
How deep in sleep do you have to be, unless the baby didn't scream? How deep in sleep do you have to be where this young man murdered this little baby, left out of the house? He didn't pass nobody on the street. No, he saw nobody on the street. Nobody saw him on the street with all this blood and a bloody knife in his hand. I mean, I wouldn't stop and ask questions either, but I would definitely call somebody from, like, across the street, on the other side, down the block, around the corner, up the freeway, in my car. Like, I would definitely call somebody though. But, like, nobody saw him, like, walking down the street. She didn't hear the door slam, the baby screaming, none of that. Like, I guess not, because, I mean, she didn't know anything happened, which is strange, but okay.
17 times, and one of his hands was cut off.
17?
When interviewed by police, the boy
Oh.
said he knew what he was doing when he got a knife from the kitchen drawer, but he wasn't sure why he wanted to hurt his brother. He told police when they asked him why he did it, "I want to be with mom." The police report stated that the boy had obviously had his faculties together when he committed the crime, as it wasn't over quickly. The wound through the spine would have required a significant degree of force, even with a sharp-tipped knife, and he couldn't have severed the hand without looking, said the report. But the boy only got manslaughter due to his circumstances. His mother had severely neglected him, and she had been abused by her own mentally ill father. It said the boy had also been sexually abused by her parents. So it's not surprising that the court heard that the boy suffered from serious psychiatric problems and also had Asperger's syndrome. One of 3 psychologists that examined the boy said his existence was wretched. The question is, should we have any pity for him? Number 6, Mary Bell. Now for some more female evil. Bell made the headlines in the UK after she was convicted of strangling to death both a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old in 1968 in Newcastle, England.
My brain, like, I cannot imagine hurting a child. Like, most of them killed, like, not even, a lot of them on this list have killed children. Like, I cannot imagine emotionally hurting a child, nevertheless taking a child away from this earth. Like, there's something disconnected with their human psyche that gives them no cares in the world. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, and some of them are killing for fun and just cuz. Like, it just doesn't matter. I don't know.
She may be on here with a double murder, but she perhaps gets more sympathy from the public because of her childhood. Her mom was a prostitute, and it later became known that Bell had suffered continually from sexual abuse from her own mom and from her mom's clients. It gets even worse. This mother from hell even tried to kill Mary on several occasions and made it look like an accident. One time she threw Mary out of a window, and another time overdosed her on sleeping pills. But Mary survived. She committed 1 murder at age 9.
Y'all ever seen that scene from For Color Girls when Michael Ealy threw them kids out the window? Like, it's triggering my memories. But like, I'm telling y'all, I bet all of these kids have this same background where they were hurt or abused in their childhood, which made them angry at the world, and they wanted to take revenge out probably on weaker people that couldn't defend themselves, or, you know, just as many people as they can. I don't know. Like, I'm telling y'all, man, treat y'all's kids good. And sometimes that's not even a solution. But if you start to see your kids need help, help them. If you don't want kids, don't have them. Like, come on, y'all. These kids didn't ask to be here. And although what they did is bad, and I don't know how I feel about having sympathy for them, but I get it. Like, that's, I don't know. And some of them aren't able to heal because they don't have the right people around them to help them heal so that they don't have to go through this. Pray for our children, y'all.
And another at age 10. On one victim, she had carved an M in his stomach. After the murders, Bell was sentenced and she got out of jail in 1980 when she was 23. This was too early for many Brits to stomach, and those devilish tabloids told the people where Bell was staying. Because of this, she had to go into protective custody lest the mob string her up from a lamppost. The plot thickened years later when Bell's 14-year-old daughter started receiving abuse, a girl who hadn't before then even known what her mom had done. The public was also angered that Bell made money from a book that was written about her. The author of the book said Bell was not a criminal, but a horribly damaged child. It also turned out that the British tabloids that were ostensibly furious about Bell getting some cash for the book had actually offered her more money for her story. Number 5. Joshua Phillips. This is the story of Joshua Phillips, a story you may have heard as it's been on TV.
Never heard this story.
Phillips bludgeoned his 8-year-old neighbor, Maddie Clifton, to death in 1998. Search parties went looking for the girl, and in the party was Phillips himself. But it was his mom who discovered the gruesome truth when she checked a waterbed that was leaking in one of the bedrooms.
Oh no.
Stuffed inside the bed was the beaten body of Clifton. She had been beaten with a baseball bat, strangled, and repeatedly stabbed.
Oh my God.
Phillips was arrested while at school, and he admitted to the murder straight away. He was given life in prison without parole. Speaking of his crime, Phillips said, "I really don't know if I deserve to be released or not, but I know I want a second chance. Or maybe I deserve to die in prison."
That's sad.
What drove him to this act of evil? Some people blame the
abusive
father,
parents.
who was a violent alcoholic who ruled over the household with an iron fist. The perpetrator now wants a second chance in life and has appealed his sentence. Many people in America think he should stay in prison for the rest of his life. Others say crimes such as this merit the death penalty, but there are people who believe some amount of leniency should be shown when it is a child that does the damage.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, do you give someone that has done stuff like this, like, a second chance? Because, like, they're children, so they're able to change, but some don't. So like, how do you break down and come to a decision to release someone who has committed some heinous crimes? Like, most of these kids have committed some crazy heinous crimes, but they're children. Do you take that into consideration and release them when they're adults? Because most crimes, depending on what it is, if they're under 18, by the time they turn 18, they can be released back into the world. But are they rehabilitated? Because most jails don't do that. Jails do not rehabilitate you. So like, how do you know if this child is able to integrate back into the world? Like, that's so tough because they're children. Like, that's a tough conversation, man. I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep
Don't
going.
think so, and they once told the press, "We were raising our girls in a Christian home where we prayed every day." What we didn't know was that the devil himself had moved in right across the street. Number 4, Robert Thompson and John Venables. This is the crime that shook the UK in 1993, a crime that has never been forgotten and remains divisive among the public.
I don't know it.
The boys that committed the crime were just 10. If you are
10?
from the UK and old enough to remember, you will have seen closed-circuit TV footage of these two young boys taking a 2-year-old from a shopping mall. It later turned out that their first plan had been to abduct a child and then take him into the street and push him in front of a vehicle. They didn't do that. Instead, they took the child on a journey, all the time hitting him and dropping him on his head. People even saw them with the child, but the boys told them the kid was their little brother. They then took him close to a railway line where they poured paint into the boy's eyes, stamped on him, threw stones at him, and even put batteries they had bought into the boy's orifices. They then killed him by dropping a heavy part of the railway line on his head. They left the boy on the track, and he was later cut in half when a train passed. As you can imagine, many of the British people wanted blood. The killers remained hidden, and the public was not allowed to know where they were kept. They were released in 2001, but still today, people debate what should have been done about this. Are kids responsible, or should their somewhat abusive backgrounds be taken into consideration? As adults, the two men lived under different identities to protect themselves from street justice. Venables was later arrested numerous times for downloading and distributing child pornography. He is in prison right now for that crime. Robert Thompson, who the press say was the ringleader in the brutal crime, has not reoffended. It's believed he educated himself and is currently settled down in a stable relationship. Many Brits believe he doesn't deserve that kind of happiness. Number 3, Eric Smith.
Just don't know.
Didn't get a good start in life. It's thought that the epilepsy drug his mom was taking while she was pregnant with him may have been one of the reasons this child had extreme violent urges. These urges culminated one day when he was riding his bicycle back from summer camp in Steuben County, New York in 1993. At the time, Smith was just 13 years old. He came across a 4-year-old boy in a park and asked the kid to go further into an area surrounded by trees. There,
Don't do it.
he strangled the boy to death. But the evil didn't stop there. He then raped the boy with a tree branch and also dropped a large rock onto the boy's head. The New York Times described what happened like this. He then lifted a 26-pound rock in the
He looks like Minkus from Boy Meets World. But it be the most unsuspecting kids. Like, they can look like this and like I mean, he doesn't look normal. Like, he looks a little scary in this picture. But like, oh my goodness. Y'all, I don't even have any words to say. But all of these kids have abusive backgrounds. That's the common denominator in all of these situations. Is their parents were abusive, or like this one, his mom had a mental defect, and the medicine that they were giving the mom to take care of her epilepsy was also affecting him while he was a fetus. Like, it's just so much. It's so much. I can't take it. Okay.
air and smashed it several times against the boy's head. He took another rock and hurled it into the boy's chest. He poured Kool-Aid from a lunch carton on the body and pulled down the boy's shorts to shove a 4-inch stick up his rectum.
Oh my God.
Imagine, this shocked America. Smith underwent all kinds of psychological examinations, and it was said he had something called intermittent explosive disorder, which means a person can just fly into a violent rage for no reason. Whilst in jail, Smith wrote to the family of the victim, saying, "If I could go back in time, I would switch places with Derek and endure all the pain I'd caused him. If it meant that he would go on living, I'd switch places, but I can't." He is still in prison right now, and many Americans think he should stay there forever. Number 2, Amarjeet Sada. This young Indian boy is said to be the world's youngest serial killer. The 8-year-old comes from
8?
Begusarai in the state of Bihar.
He was 8.
2006, he was convicted of killing 3 babies, including his sister and cousin. The babies, just a few months old, were either strangled or had their heads smashed with a stone. He was called a sadist, but psychologists said he just didn't know right from wrong and was said to have conduct disorder.
Conduct disorder?
He couldn't go to prison, but it's thought he spent about 3 years in a psychiatric facility and also a remand home. He never denied what he did, telling police of one murder, "She was sleeping in the school. I took her a little away and killed her with a stone and buried her." As we saw
Oh my
at the beginning of
God.
the show, sometimes children who are older and have suffered from abuse may commit such violent crimes. But in the case of Sada, psychologists have been stumped given that he was so young. A professor of criminology at Birmingham City University had this to say: "It is impossible to say with certainty whether a person is born a killer or becomes a killer, but most criminologists believe that it is a messy combination of the two." So perhaps young Sada didn't kill because of environmental damage. Maybe he was just a natural-born killer. Perhaps sadism just runs through some people's blood. And finally, number 1, Jesse Harding Pomeroy. This is the story of a young man from Massachusetts who was born way back in 1859. He is known for being America's most evil kid, and as it seems the USA pretty much has a monopoly on serial killers, we might just call him the world's worst kid. Stories differ as to how many victims he had, but he brutally tortured many kids aged 4 to 8 when he was aged 12 to 14. His tools of the trade were knives, sticks, pins, and rope. According to a story in Gizmodo, he killed 2 children and assaulted at least 7 more in a criminal career that scarcely spanned a year. At times, he was attacking a boy a week. He really was quite a sadist too. There is one report that says he tied some kids up to a beam and whipped them until they were unconscious. With other kids, he put pins in their bodies and mutilated their faces with a knife. What makes him different from some other people on this list is that he seemed to take great joy in his work, sounding something like a character from a Marquis de Sade novel. That's where the name sadist comes from.
Sick.
By the way. His books are not for the faint-hearted. It's said Jesse loved those acts of sadism. According to reports and interviews with some of his victims, when Jesse was beating and stabbing them, he would laugh out loud. According to his own mother, he had a normal upbringing. They had money, and his parents were kind to him. She also said that he was a sickly kid, and around him was a certain kind of darkness. This became known early on, as it's reported he had strangled dogs and stabbed cats. After his
That's how they start.
tortures, he was caught and sent to juvenile reform prison, but was released just after a year. Later, 2 kids were found stabbed and tortured and dead. One had been almost castrated. Yep, it was Jesse. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to hang. But being a child, this didn't go down well with some people. His sentence was later reduced to life in solitary confinement. Apparently, he tried to escape a number of times and then gave up. Over the decades in solitary, it said he read 8,000 books and became fluent in several languages. In all, the Boston boy fiend served 59 years. He died at 72 in 1932. So, what do you think about all these cases? Should we show leniency to kids who kill? Does their background mitigate what they did? Are some people just born bad, or is nurture always work?
I cannot answer any of those questions. I don't know how to feel. I can't say yay or nay to any of these questions because I don't know. Like, I just don't know. I feel sick to my stomach. That last killer tipped me over. I was finna eat breakfast, but now I'm not even sure anymore. Wow. What do you all think about these cases? I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comments if you see it. I'm just gonna have to end the video right here because I'm just too blown away by all of these children who did what they did. And it's like, I just don't know how to feel. Like, do you give them leniency because they're kids and because they had a terrible background? But what about those kids who don't have a terrible background? They're just kind of born that way. But because they're children, do you still give them leniency? Like, or do you base it off of what they did? Like, does that make sense? Like, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. This is gonna be the end of the video. I hope you guys like the video, like this content. Don't worry, I still got more content coming for y'all. Consistency is key. Every other day upload. We in this thing. In case y'all didn't know, I do have a gaming channel where I will also be uploading content to that tomorrow. We're going to be doing some Sims 4 content on that channel on tomorrow. So make sure y'all tune in to Katie Just Games. If you didn't know, now you know. Shout out to all my new subscribers. Thank you again for coming through and hitting that subscribe button for whatever reason. Thank you. Welcome to the family. Shout out to all my OG subscribers. What's good, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to watching me. And know that I love y'all for real. And yeah, that's it. Hope you have a good day. Peace.